Hello, welcome to another episode of Vegan Bread Machine. Here's another vegan out-of-the-gate bread recipe via Beth Hensberger's The Bread Lover's Bread Machine Cookbook. This one is called house bread, and it's a good one. When you think of house bread, what do you think of? Do you think of a loaf that a farmer or homesteader would make? Do you think of a grandmother's unique recipe made often and lovingly, which has also been passed down to her kids who make it on special days? Do you think of a boring name for a generic recipe? Or do you think of anything goes, whatever you got bread? Well, if you picked the last choice, then congrats. When I came upon it, I didn't even read the blurb that Beth wrote for it. I saw the ingredients and thought, perfect, it's vegan, it's got some different ingredients at specific proportions. This will make great video right here. And then I went to the grocery store and I couldn't find the exact ingredients. I cried at the register and went home to try to figure out a plan B. If you don't have the ingredients on hand, making this bread is an expensive, time-consuming endeavor. I can't get dark rye flour or powdered fructose at my local grocery stores. An online baking supply company might help with the specialty flours, though procuring powdered fructose might be tougher. If you've never heard of it, it used to be a somewhat popular sweetener in the 70s and 80s. Oftentimes when I Google for powdered fructose, dextrose pops up. I don't know if this is the same thing, and honestly I'm not really all that interested in finding out. The internet says 3 parts sugar for every 2 parts powdered fructose will work. So I did just that. In the end, I made 2 substitutions. I used regular rye flour and demerara sugar. And I felt that it came out so well that I offered my mom a slice, and she liked it. I don't think powdered fructose was necessary. However, it is listed because it doesn't overpower the flavor of flour, and because apparently cane sugar does. You are also invited to try our suggestions, and I'm definitely interested in doing just that on a future date. Okay, you will need the following for a 2-pound loaf. Pause the video and read for the 1.5 pound instructions. 1.5 cups of water, 2.5 tablespoons of olive oil, 3 7/8 cups of bread flour, 1.5 tablespoons of buckwheat flour, 1.5 tablespoons of dark rye flour. Note that I used regular rye in this. 1.5 tablespoons of toasted wheat germ. 1.5 tablespoons of powdered fructose. Also note that I used 2.25 tablespoons of demerara sugar. 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of gluten. And 2 teaspoons of salt. You also need 2.25 teaspoons of SAF yeast, or 2 3/4 bread machine yeast. Step 1. Dump wet ingredients first. That will be the water and the oil. Step 2. Dump the bread flour in. Then dump the buckwheat flour, the rye, toasted wheat germ, and if you have it, powdered fructose, otherwise demerara sugar, and then gluten, and then salt. Step 3. Dig a hole with your finger and deposit the yeast. Step 4. Close lid. Select regular white bread course, medium crust. Press start. Twiddle your thumbs if your machine has 30-minute rest period, or otherwise hypnotically watch it mix and knead. Remember to always check the dough and add ingredients at the signal. For me this is 45 minutes, probably sooner or maybe later on your machine. I decided that I want to let this dough ride. Okay, here's a confession. I recorded this on the same day that the Rio Olympics closed. And I'm posting this right before or right on or maybe right after the US presidential election. Kind of fitting, isn't it? Oh, and I'm also addicted to Twitter again. It has gone full-bore insane since the last time I used it. And also, one last confession. This one's a teaser. I learned something in my process that is suboptimal. And I learned it the hard way, because of course, why wouldn't I learn it the hard way? Can you spot it? Leave a comment down below. I'd like to hear from you. The resulting bread has collapsed a little on the sides. Usually that means either the yeast was working too fast or there's too much water in the dough, so perhaps 1 tablespoon less of water might fix the problem. But either way, I'm not really complaining. I have the fondest memory of this loaf, and I rank it number 1 with only one other recipe that I've tried closely behind. Thank you for watching.